What we will be talking about is UFC 239, and this is going to be one hell of a show, Joe. That main card is just absolutely loaded.
Yeah.
This is obscene. But on the prelims, you have Julia Avila, a minus 230 favorite. Pani Kianzad, a plus 190. You have Chancer Encounter, a massive underdog, plus 360. Ismail Nairdaev is a minus 450. Then you have Edmund Shabazian, a minus 500. Jack Marshman, a plus 400. Alejandro Perez, a plus 180. Song Yadong, a minus 220. And then we get into the fights where most people are going to know who these people are. There are some massive lines on this prelim show, Joe.
Yeah.
What do you think? To me, that's just wild, some of these lines.
Jack Marshman.
Yes.
All day long. Plus 400 on him. Yeah, $5. I got 5 on it.
Like, why not? It's hard for me to put a person who has won 3 fights in the UFC in the last 2.5 years at that level. Now, again, I'll always say it. Do I think that he's going to beat Shabazian? I sure don't. But that's got to be one. Pani Kianzad, a plus 190. That could be a close one, too. These women's fights are always unpredictable, although that's been swaying a little bit, Joe. I've said that quite a bit lately, and it's been in the favor of the bettors. Las Vegas has been right. The people that are betting have been right. But this is a pretty solid foundation for this. I mean, at least the way it looks, UFC booked these hoping that there were going to be a lot of early finishes.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what it looks like, right? I mean, even the way they set up the card. But yeah, they're looking for some finishes here. I mean, you would have to assume all matchmaking, when it's done, you're booking an exciting fight in hopes that, you know, one of the two guys or girls, their strength shines and they end up with a finish. But this is one card where you're looking at saying, ooh, this could be a situation where none of these go the distance, right? So,
yeah, Joe, there are no lines closer than like plus 155 and minus 175. The lines are just momentous on this show. One that I completely understand is Gilbert Melendez, a plus 325 against Arnold Allen, the minus 400. Arnold Allen, 14-1. He has won 5 fights in the UFC. He's 5-0. Going up against Gilbert Melendez, who has not won a fight since 2013, Joe. He has not fought since 2017. He has not fought more than once a year since 2013. Oh, by the way, he's only fought more than once a year once since 2012. I am not giving him much of a chance because the 2 fights that he has won in the UFC, Josh Thompson split decision, Diego Sanchez, all-time classic bloodbath that could have eventually went either way. I look for Arnold Allen to run away with this fight, Joe.
Yeah, runaway might be a little strong for me to agree with, but I do see Arnold Allen winning this fight. I mean, can you not just think about what Jeremy Stevens did to Gilbert Melendez, and you start thinking, okay, well, the book is there, leg kick, leg kick, leg kick, leg kick, and that was in 2017, a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago. So it's one of those things where it's like the book is almost there. Edson Barbosa did it. I mean, Eddie Alvarez pounded him. Anthony Pettis outstruck him. Gilbert Melendez is not the same guy that was competing for Strikeforce and Shudo way back in the day. So I'm not saying, you know, its time has come, but he's 37 years old, right? A lot of MMA wear and tear there. You know, I'm assuming he's got his school is successful. Everything is going good with the scrap pack. So this could be one of the few final fights left in his contract, and I think Arnold Allen runs away with this one as well. Not runs away, sorry. Arnold Allen emerges victorious in this fight here.
Just my suspicion, but I would assume that Gilbert Melendez had like a no-cut contract because there ain't no way keeping him on at that rate if they can help it with him being damaged goods. He was making $200,000, and that was, I think, during the Pettis fight, he made $200,000. So he's probably still making that. My God.
That was a big contract. That was the Ultimate Fighter contract, right? So
what, Melendez?
Yep.
No. That wasn't the Ultimate Fighter contract. That's when they lured him away from Strikeforce, if you remember.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. But there was a renegotiation because he was going to go to Bellator.
Yeah.
And then he got the Ultimate Fighter deal done, and that's when he was with Anthony Pettis. And that was a big contract. So
another interesting fight, I think. Random Marcos, who is a plus 180 against Claudia Gadelha, minus 220. If you would have told me a year or two ago that line would be that close, I would have been shocked. But we're talking about two people in way different points of their career. As it stands, Gedalia has this may shock a lot of people. Gedalia has never won 3 straight fights in the UFC. Has only won 2 straight fights in the UFC one time, Joe.
Yeah.
Also, has never lost back-to-back fights. She is coming off of a loss. She has lost to people like Nina Ansaroff, who I think a lot of people would have compared to Randa Marcos a couple years ago as far as consistency in career. However, Randa Marcos has 1 loss in her last 4 fights. She beat Angela Hill earlier this year, finished her in the first round, something that we had not seen out of Randa Marcos in her UFC career, maybe only in Tough. How do you think this one goes? Because let's be honest, there hasn't been a lot that either one of these women haven't seen.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Randa's record, win-loss, 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 right? Or draw, win.
Yeah.
Right? So it's almost like if you follow trajectory, you follow patterns. Gedalia is supposed to win, and Randa's supposed to lose. And that's actually what I'm going with. I mean, this is such an unpredictable fight to me, Joe. Like, because there are points like, what does a split decision win against Carla Esparza mean these days? Yeah,
I don't know. What did that rear naked choke win 2 years ago that Gedalia had over Karolina Kowalkiewicz mean? Not a lot by the looks of it these days.
Yeah.
Jessica Aguilar, what did that mean? Nothing. Like, the only person that Gedalia has finished in the UFC is Karolina Kowalkiewicz. That's it.
Yeah.
Who's putting away Randa Marcos? Well, in the UFC, it's been Courtney Casey, and I don't know that happens again. Rose Namajunas did it on Tough, but I look at Randa Marcos' history, and she's also beat Carla Esparza via split decision. She's put away Angela Hill, who's a tough girl, but not a top level. Tisha Torres, I think, is a top-level fighter. I thought that she was going to win Tough, and she got beat in the elimination round by Randa Marcos. This is a very interesting fight, and I think a very important fight that people shouldn't sleep on. Speaking of the Hall of Famer, man, that's a weekend for Diego Sanchez. Goes into the UFC Hall of Fame, then he's a plus 270 against Michael Chiesa, a minus 330. I might have to put 5 on it, even though I like Michael Chiesa here. Joe, this is a hell of a fight. This is a fight.
Yeah. $5 on Diego Sanchez for sure. Come on. I mean, that guy there, you just never know. He just comes there, brings it, and it's going to be fantastic. Chiesa, for his part, should remain somewhat stoic. Let Sanchez just do what he has to do, trap him, take his back as early as you can per round, and let Diego fight the rear naked chokes and stuff like that. Because Sanchez is a ball of energy. The guy operates in a different frequency, no matter what people say. Every encounter I've had with Diego Sanchez has been nothing but positive. The guy is just a wonderful soul, Sean. I cannot express to you. This guy is amazing. The original Ultimate Fighter, and he's still competing. Like he's the very first winner of the Ultimate Fighter, not Forrest Griffin. It's Diego Sanchez. People keep forgetting about that. And this guy's still competing against the top guys in the division. So I got all kinds of love for Diego Sanchez. And this is a courtesy, emotional. I got 5 on it. You know what I'm saying? Like this guy's fantastic. Chiesa's just got to be smart. Chiesa's smart, he wins. But, you know, my heart's going with Sanchez all the time.
Chiesa moved up and beat Carlos Condit and looked really good in doing so. Diego Sanchez has also looked very good lately. Beat up Mickey Gall real bad. One of the best performances of Diego Sanchez's career. If Diego Sanchez wins this fight, man, I'm not calling for a title fight or anything, but it's at the point to where you got to put him in there. Like, I think you capitalize on that name value and throw Diego Sanchez in there with a top 10 name just to do it. And I don't care what weight division. You just do it. You capitalize, you throw him on an ESPN card second from the top, you make it worth it. I'm going Chiesa, but it would not surprise me in the least if Diego Sanchez ends up winning this. Here's a fight that I've been waiting for a long time, Joe. Not a fight. I don't give a damn about the fight. I don't care about Jan Blachowicz, plus 155. I care about seeing Luke Rockhold, minus 175. And as I've said, Joe, and I think we got about 75% accuracy on this, there's still a few days for this fight to not happen, Joe. And it seems like every time I say that, it ends up happening.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Luke Rockhold finally making his 205-pound debut. And it's against Jan Blachowicz, and he should be favored to win, but the lines are a little bit close, the closest lines on this show, maybe because of the unknown. And why is it unknown?
Sean Ross factor.
Yeah, maybe because of the unknown, because Luke Rockhold doesn't fight. He doesn't fight. He's had 2 or 3 fights happen since 2016. And I think he's had like 4 canceled. Does this fight happen, Joe? That's what I want to know.
Wow, that's even tougher than making the prediction for the fight.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say no.
I don't think he's ever fought at light heavyweight. I don't know.
I think this fight takes place, and I'll be rooting for Jan.
Yeah, the thing is, do I think that Luke has the skill set to beat Jan Blachowicz? Yeah, I think he's got the skill set to beat almost anybody in this division. I truly do.
Yep.
But
when he's on point, because if he's not, he doesn't look it.
Yeah. The only person that Luke Rockhold has beaten since 2016 is David Branch, who is a middleweight who competes at light heavyweight, who he was a minus 565 favorite over. But if you look at this, Joe, this is worth noting, I think. Some of his other wins in his UFC career. Chris Weidman, who is now a light heavyweight. Lyoto Machida, who has competed at light heavyweight, former light heavyweight champion. Michael Bisping, who probably, I would argue, may have been a better light heavyweight than he was a middleweight.
Yeah,
he was a damn good light heavyweight.
Yep.
Like, there are some of those. I think if he compete at that level, it would not surprise me to see Jan Blachowicz grind this win out, but I think that Luke Rockhold's going to take it. What do you think?
Luke Rockhold, despite my disdain for his personality and who he is, when it comes to being a mixed martial artist, is absolutely fantastic. Does have a special skill set, almost like an underappreciated submission game, right? The guy's got skills. He's got jits. He's a black belt for a reason. He's fantastic when it comes. That fight does get down to the ground, but sometimes his fighter IQ is sort of strange, or it leaves you to believe, or you're like, what are you doing? Why would you do that? That's a big mistake. You shouldn't be doing stuff like that. And if he gets caught and doesn't react quickly, big trouble. Look at that Michael Bisping fight, right? I know what happened in 2016. It's 3 years ago, but you just never know. But when he's on, he's fantastic, and he can hurt a lot of people. So it's tough to say which Luke Rockhold will show up on Saturday night. And I'm not discrediting Blachowicz, his skill set either, because if you look up and down his resume and some of the guys that he's defeated versus some of the guys that he's lost to, this guy went 3 rounds. He went into the 3rd round with Thiago Santos, who's fighting for the title in that main event. So tough guy. Although that Patrick Cummins majority loss, we're always shaking our head at that one still to this day. But other than that, I mean, he's lost some pretty quality names and defeated some pretty good names as well. I mean, he avenged that loss to Jimmy Manoa. And of course, when you beat Nikita Krylov, you're in the Hall of Fame talk. Right? Come on.
Oh my God. My God. Well, that's not all, guys. That would be probably a good ESPN show right there that we just read off. But it doesn't end. Ben Askren, minus 270, 245. George Masvidal, a plus 205. This is a hell of a fight, too. I'm not writing Masvidal off. Because as we've seen, Ben Askren can run into trouble when people bring him the fight. Masvidal's bringing him the goddamn fight, Joe. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
But do I think that Masvidal can get up when Askren drags him down? I don't necessarily. Consistently for an extended period of time, I don't know. But I've, made a very terrible living writing off Masvidal, and I'm not ready to do that anymore. I'm not ready to write off these guys who fought in Strikeforce and weren't all that, because as we've seen, they can put away Darren Till. They can put away Donald Cerrone. They can do that to people. Masvidal's got a hell of a resume, and he can compete at the top levels, or at least near it. And I'm excited for this fight. I'm going with Askren, though.
Yeah, it's tough to say, in my opinion, because Masvidal has that ability to shock and awe people when he's motivated. The only thing is, the MMA mileage on him is actually pretty high. Remember, he's got 46 fights. He's 34 years old. That's a lot of competition. 33-13. That's a lot of fights. So it's tough to say per se what's going to happen in this fight here. Ben Askren, like you said, if he takes him down on the ground, it gets ugly. It's very difficult to get up from a guy with that type of wrestling acumen. But Masvidal has precision, unlike some guys in this division. When he tags you and he starts unloading, the dude's a bad man. So you're going Askren. I'll go on the limb and say Masvidal. Why not?
Up next, we have the two greatest 145-pound women's fighters of all time fighting at 135 pounds. I think it is, isn't it? This is for the bantamweight title?
This is the bantamweight title.
You know what's great?
What's
if they miss weight, they should just make it a featherweight title fight.
Fantastic analogy. That's
I love
hilarious. Yep.
Like, why not? I think that's amazing that they could probably do that. Holly Holm plus 275. Amanda Nunes a minus 335. I am of the belief, Joe, that the top 5 women's fighters of all time in no order are Amanda Nunes, Valentina Shevchenko, Joanna Jędrzejczyk, Chris Cyborg, and Ronda Rousey, all things considered.
Yep.
Holly Holm sits right outside that list, and there are a lot of people that are not happy that Holly Holm got this fight, and I understand. From a sport perspective, I understand. She beat Betch Kohea, who gives a shit. Really. The Megan Anderson fight at featherweight, that was at featherweight. She should have beaten Jermaine Durandamy. She should have been the first ever UFC women's featherweight champion, but she wasn't. So as far as merit goes, it's not there at 135. Do I think it's there at 145? I do, which is confusing to me, Joe. Why not just make this a 145-pound title fight?
Yeah, no, very true. Very true. But the other thing that we should probably take into consideration, minus that Betch Kohea fight, you look at Holly Holm, post victory over Ronda Rousey, she was dominating Miesha Tate and found a way to lose. She would not pull the trigger against the Bullet, Valentina Shevchenko. Jermaine Durandamy fight, same sort of thing. Like, could have won that fight far more early, but just wasn't pulling that trigger. Fights Betch Kohea, takes her to the 3rd round to knock her out, and then fights Chris Cyborg. And again, you thought, okay, there's got to be more here to Holly Holm. Like, what's happening? Why isn't she just going in there? She's very disciplined, but almost to her own detriment. And the Megan Anderson fight as well. Now, Megan Anderson's tough. Don't get me wrong. She's super tough. But at the same time, Megan Anderson, if you put the pressure on Megan Anderson, just ask Felicia Spencer. Take her down, submit her. Right? I'm not saying Holly Holm needs to do that against Megan Anderson, but even in that fight, there's nothing in the last, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fights, again, maybe 5 fights, remove Betch Kohea, that's showing me that Holly Holm can be a world champion again. Love to see it. What a marvelous woman she is. I think she's fantastic. I met her. Great girl. But Amanda Nunes is a beast. She goes out there to kill. And she's going to go out there to kill Holly Holm. The only reason why she won't be able to kill her is because there's a referee in there and there's rules. But that's her goal. That's her job. And she does it. Do you ever question Amanda Nunes' game plan and say, this could be a boring fight? No. So we'll see.
Isn't it amazing that these two have never fought?
Correct.
It's amazing. So many exhausted options in that division. But something worth looking at. I don't know if Holly Holm gets tired. And if this goes to the 5th round, we've seen Amanda Nunes put people away. We've seen her arguably beat Valentina Shevchenko. But I think that may be an advantage for Holly Holm if she can drag that out. And that's one of Holly Holm's specialties, is being able to drag fights out like that. However, it doesn't always go her way. But usually it doesn't always go her way against proven commodities at that length of time. This is one that you got to keep your eye on. I'm going Amanda Nunes, but I think if it goes to the 4th or 5th round, I think it's Holm's fight to win. John Jones, minus 550. Thiago Santos, a plus 425. Joe, here's the game plan. You walk in, you swing at John Jones. You do it in a responsible, technical manner, but you put hands on him. If you don't, you're going to lose the fight, Joe, because you ain't out wrestling him. You're not going to beat him in the clinch. You might catch him with something, but that's your chance, Thiago Santos. Do not miss your chance to blow. This opportunity comes once in a lifetime.
You better
win the title, eat your mom's spaghetti. I don't give a shit. Just throw your hands at his face and you might win. Does he stand another chance?
I'm rooting for Thiago Santos in this fight. 100%. I want to see what can happen if he touches John Jones. I mean, Jones can take a punch. Don't kid yourself. He's been tagged. Alexander Gustafsson tagged him. DC's tagged him. But Thiago Santos brings a different type of power. I know DC's a heavyweight and he should be bringing more power. But this is a fantastic scrap because, I mean, I've got rare. I mean, again, for those that have been tuned into this podcast for the past 3 years, happy anniversary, by the way. Yeah, 3 years. So you've heard me say it before. My litmus test in general is the amount of mainstream fan texts and points of contact that I get regarding a fight. And there's been some talk on this fight here, and a lot of it has to do with Thiago Santos' hype machine, that this is the guy that's going to knock out John Jones. Now, are some of these fans are educated, some of them not so much. They just like seeing violence or brutality, just like in Sean's preamble there about, touch him, knock him out, that kind of stuff. So I'm, John Jones has taken a punch, can take them, but Thiago Santos does not go away. Still one of my favorite fighters to watch in mixed martial arts as a whole. I love seeing this guy compete, and I just want to see if he can do what Sean Ross Sapp said and just go out there. You got nothing to lose. You've made it to the pinnacle. You made it to the apex. You have the opportunity to become a champion. You got to take that belt away. And don't forget, this guy's he's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as well. So, he's got the skills if this thing goes down to the ground. But John Jones has an ability to nullify fighters. We saw what he did to Anthony Smith. Anthony Smith could not do anything in that fight. For 5 rounds was like, I don't know what to do. Like, I trained for this guy, and nothing's working. So we'll see what happens with Thiago Santos' game plan. But touch him, and you never know what can happen.
Joseph,